from what I understand, and kind of just piggybacking off what you said, the Nazis in the World War II, they were doing remote viewing and like fucking channeling things with these weird psychic people who were there, right? In Germany. They were Germans. I forget their name, but you can look it up. And they, through like how psychics like write stuff, wrote down schematics just like remotely with their eyes closed that was actually intelligible for like building an anti-gravity machine. All right. And so now the government gets involved, the Nazis, they start looking into this, start working with it, and they start working on flying saucers of their own. They start working on the Glock, the bell or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so the whole time throughout World War II, Adolf Hitler and all of his shit, and you can watch this in any World War II documentary, is saying, we have secret weapons. Just wait. We're on the forefront right now. They're not going to be able to hold us back when they see what we have, right?
It's going crazy. Yeah.
So moral of the story is, I think and this is around the time where the U.S. and people on the Ally side start seeing UFOs and documenting it for the first time in modern history. What they call them is Foo Fighters. Back in the day, we're flying the planes in World War II, trying to fight the Nazis, and we see these balls of light flying next to these planes that can zip and do maneuvers that are just not possible. And so look up Foo Fighters. There's even pictures of Foo Fighters, and there's even a band named after them. Okay, so. And the only reason I looked into the Foo Fighters and connected this dot is because going back to what's his face, Blink 182, Tom DeLonge.
Tom DeLonge, yeah.
He says he thinks that the Nazis were the ones who, it was their flying saucer that went down in Roswell. And I was like, wait, that's different than anything I've ever heard. So let me look into this. And this is when I started looking into Nazis. And this is actually ironically when I found out that you were into it, because you were talking about the same Nazi thing. Nazis. So apparently, from what I understand, is the Nazis tried to put machine guns on this anti-gravity machine that doesn't operate on the same laws of physics, basically, right? And so these machine guns that shoot projectiles that move faster than light of the speed of light, they're just getting blown to bits, right? These guns are not working because they're on flying saucers that are inhuman.
Yeah, like
right?
Austin Powers sharks with laser beams.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that. And so that's why they were able to get these Foo Fighters, theoretically, that could fly and do these things, but they couldn't weaponize them. They couldn't figure out how to do it. So eventually they have to surrender World War II. And here's the theory, and this is also like independent non-UFO research. They think Hitler escaped to Argentina.
Yeah,
and
there's a huge German community down there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, where the fuck
it's
did
like
these
mini
people
Germany
come from?
down there. Yeah.
And so here's
all
kind of
speak
where
German,
I found.
all have the same culture. Like, yeah.
Damn.
Like even Nazi paraphernalia and stuff down there. It's pretty common. Yeah.
Damn.
It's nuts.
So apparently they go make their way to
Antarctica. Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's what the current theory is that the Nazis escaped to Antarctica with the flying saucer technology, and a lot of
you can see it going in and out of like the ice things.
If you go on Google Earth, there's a big gaping hole in the middle of
the whole one.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And you can't fly over it. There was a pilot who did, and then he immediately got swarmed as soon as he landed by government officials.
Really?
Yeah, like instantly. And they were like, you can't do that. What'd you see? All this stuff. And he just started getting interrogated and whatnot. But I've seen that hole that you're talking about. I know exactly the thing. I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nuts. And the theory is that they have the bases. They all escaped to Argentina and Antarctica, and they were doing their research down there and all that stuff.
Yeah. So then here's the other one that you were talking about. You were telling me about this a few weeks ago. So Roswell happens 1947, 2 years after the end of World War II. Most people think, oh, it's a flying saucer, gets covered up by the government. Next day, they're like, it's a weather balloon.
Yeah.
When in reality, the actual wreckage, and this is, I don't know, I feel like this is actual documented. The actual wreckage was actually flown via 2 airplanes to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and they flew it in 2 airplanes just in case one of them crashed because they didn't want to lose the technology.
Yeah.
All right, so they get there at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where they think it is today. But anyways, Tom DeLonge says he thinks it was Nazi. Right, so then I'm thinking back to the fucking Antarctica theory of how World War II really ended, and then what's the operation where we actually sent people down there and they got attacked by something?
Oh yeah, and they had that big war and there were U-boats there and all that.
What was
stuff.
the name of that
Forget
operation?
that name. Got it. Yeah,
it's like Moonshine or something.
Yeah, Operation Moonshine.
Yeah. And so apparently they go down there. They're fully militarized, but then they get hit with resistance by an enemy that they can't. And they're so vague on what they say publicly or whatever was made public, and they come back defeated with a lot of casualties and whatnot. So if you think, oh, Nazis are really down there, and maybe they've probably figured out how to militarize these advanced ships.
Yeah.
Right. And then here's where shit kind of gets off the wall. Because then you go on to Gaia, and they're talking all these people who are just making shit up.
Yeah, dude, making shit, killing the rep of any credible person who's seen.
But they
some
were
real
talking
shit.
about the secret Space Force a year before Donald Trump comes out with the actual Space Force.
Yeah, Gaia to me, like I subscribed for yearly because I thought I was going to use it all the time, and I even bought their stock and didn't do anything, so I sold it.
Yeah.
But dude, there was a documentary on there where I was watching this guy who had like these 2 little hoop earrings, and he was like this really skinny, like 100-pound guy, just for some visual stuff. And he was claiming that he, for 20 years of his life, was abducted and virtually shuttled to Mars every day to fight a war against 3 other alien races. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't believe, like, if you went to a shooting range, you could not shoot a gun. So like, how am I supposed to believe that you're in a top secret government military thing? Like, it just doesn't add up. It was the biggest lie I've ever heard. My girlfriend walked in, I was watching it. She's like, well, this guy's full of shit. Like, this is the craziest. What are you watching? Yeah. I'm like, no, I swear. I'm like, I don't believe it. But
Gaia
like,
gets out there for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, well, like that discredits all the real stuff that like Roswell and all these other theories that at least have some backbone to them. Yeah, it's just funny.
Yeah.
So where are you? You're at the Antarctica.
So Tom DeLonge, here's where his theory kind of gets. I'll kind of go through Tom DeLonge's theory, and then Mike Shower, who's going to be on the podcast next week.
Oh yeah, he's into it. He's deep.
He's deep, bro.
He's deep.
He's deeper than he leads on.
Oh yeah.
Same with you, I feel like.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and so he told me, because I sent him the Tom DeLonge thing. So I'll talk about what Tom DeLonge says happens, and because he's working with the government, and then I'll kind of say what he's saying. But basically, Tom DeLonge is on the front that UFOs are bad and they're hostile against us and these aliens, right? And so what they think happened, or what he thinks happened, is like when we created the nuclear bomb, that's when flying saucers started appearing, and it's because nuclear bombs by happen on the quantum level. You send 2 molecules together and you split them.
You use the energy, and that's
all
what
the
happens.
energy, right? And so exactly. That's what happens. And so this was affecting things on a quantum level, which, if you know anything about quantum physics, you take a light particle here and you take its twin and move it across the universe.
Yeah, they both move.
They both do the same thing at the same moment. Mirror each other.
They don't even know how it works. That's the crazy part.
Right. So this is a real thing that's been proven by science can actually happen, a phenomenon on the quantum level, right?
And everything's energy at the subatomic particle, 0.0000 to the nth degree,
right?
0.1% matter or something. It's mostly energy.
What's crazy is in physics class in college, we had one worksheet we had to do as an assignment was to calculate the frequency of a car or this plant, because we all have frequency, and the way you can actually measure it is only when we pass through a slit. And so you think about the slit experiment, and you shine a laser beam through a slit, and it breaks off into other separate laser beams.
It goes two doors. Yeah. The double slit test.
The double slit test, right? And so using that kind of like line of thinking and learning about frequency, when I walk through a doorway, I'm technically passing through a slit, and you can measure my frequency at that moment in time. And so when you think about it, studying organic chemistry, I have a biology degree. Yeah. You go down, like you said, to the subatomic level, past the atom, past the electron. What is it? You got quarks and like neutrinos and things that are blinking in and out of existence, right? And it's just energy.
Yep.
Which is crazy, like you said.
Yep. And consciousness is the only thing that separates us from the plant, because this has it too. Like this has subatomic particles at the very quantum level. It's the same thing. It's like 99.99999 to the nth degree, keep going, % empty space, right? And it's energy. And same with us, all our cells right there. Yeah. And the cells make up your organs, which make up your body, which make up your, all these different systems working together. So I think the only thing that separates us from that is consciousness, which is a whole other hour and a half. That we don't have time to get into, but
we'll get into it because that's part of his fucking story. Well, on this fucking energy thing, I heard. Do you know who Lawrence Krauss is? He's like a physicist.
No.
He's like, he'll be on like any of these like universe documentaries, but not like the alien stuff.
Oh,
but I was listening to an interview of his, and he studies this stuff. He's an actual scientist, right? And he was talking about the Higgs boson particle. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So the Large Hadron Collider,
In Sweden, right?
That's what they were
Or
looking for.
Switzerland?
Yeah. They were looking for the Higgs boson particle, which happens when you smash these things and all these subatomic particles pop out, right? So they actually found it. And the Higgs boson particle is basically proof of the Higgs boson field, which helps like really unify a lot of our theories of science and physics. And the Higgs boson field is actually in existence at all times. And it's actually what allows physical things to take physical form. And the way he described it, and I'm not him by any means, so I'm just basically trying to parrot what I believe he said from memory, right? So he said the way the Higgs boson field works is like all of the particles, we're just made of dust, right? And all that stuff. And he says what gives us shape, this thing can be a plant, is that when that comes into interaction with the boson field, it kind of just slows it down. Whereas like without the Higgs boson field, it'd just be like, we're just be floating in molasses.
So that's what kind of glues it together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It gives it some form. Cause yeah, that's one thing you can struggle with when you hear that, like what, everything is energy. That's just some sweaty dude in Whole Foods. Like peace, man, everything's energy, you know, like there's actually science behind it at the quantum level. Right. But what actually glues the energy together if everything is just dissolving in empty space?
So going back to consciousness, how that relates to...
Wait, sorry. I want you to finish the point about the nuclear UFO stuff, because you showed me that article and it said something like they were monitoring our nuclear plants, which they do. There's more UFO sightings by them. And then our nuclear weapons, because something's changing or it's mirroring in space and time, that freaking nuclear stuff is the only thing that can interfere with their technology.
So a lot of the government whistleblowers who have come out of the woodworks in recent years pushing for disclosure, which has kind of led to them releasing videos and stuff, they're people who worked on these nuclear test sites as officers, as physicists, whatever it is. And around when nukes were being stored, 50s, 60s, 70s, for that whole time period, right? These nuclear bombs during the Cold War would theoretically just like there would be a UFO. People would be like, yo, what's this thing floating above? And then 10 nukes would get disactivated all at once. Or it would just, they completely lose control and they would start firing up. And so these phenomena were happening. And then even when they started trying to shoot them into space during the Cold War, there was actual, and people have come out as whistleblowers witnessing this. It was the cameraman, I believe. I saw he was the one being interviewed about this, and the footage doesn't exist because the government took it. Right? But basically, what the footage shows, and he was the cameraman, and he didn't see it until the officers brought him in to see if he saw what was on the footage, and they showed him the footage, and they're like, "Well, what do you think that is?" He goes, "Well, it looks like a UFO, sir." And they go, "Well, don't talk about this ever again." And then he never saw the footage again. And what happened was they shot a nuke into space, and a little flying saucer came. And this thing is going like 3,000 miles an hour, the nuke, because it's going into space. Right. And it had to go into orbit. So it's going thousands of miles an hour. And this little flying saucer zips up, gets right next to it, shoots a laser beam at it, flies in front of it, shoots a laser beam at it. And so keep in mind, this thing has immense control because it's going in at the right rate it needs to kind of go around this thing that's shooting at 3,000 miles an hour. Yeah. Right. So then it goes in front of it, shoots a laser beam, goes under it, shoots a laser beam, and then the thing falls down to the ground. Wow. So I wish that fucking footage existed somewhere. Like people have just tried to create animations of it. Yeah. But anyways, so they were shooting them out of space. And the whole thing with Tom DeLonge's theory is he says this is the whole Cold War was a big cover up. Right. That these are actual hostile aliens that have been here manipulating human DNA for thousands of years, giving us technology consciously or unconsciously, but really they're trying to make sure that we don't advance to a higher level of consciousness. So what they're doing, and this ties into the moon is a satellite theory. They think the moon is a satellite, and inside the hollow moon is just this advanced AI. And so that's why people are afraid of AI taking over the world. I sound crazy right now.
Well, yeah. No, this is a good point, and it's really important that like when you talk about government stuff and space programs, all this aliens, that there might be, it's just as plausible if there are different races of them. Just like your dog Tucker and I have a dog Hondo, like they're a dog, but they're different, right? And they all come from a common ancestor, the wolf or whatever, like a Chihuahua and a Rottweiler are nothing in common. They're totally different, but they're the same thing. So there's probably other alien races, and maybe not all of them are good. Maybe some are malevolent, some are benevolent, and some want to help us and manipulate our DNA so we don't go extinct and do things like bring us technology and like all this stuff. So that's a huge thing that I've been open to in the past couple months. And I've read some more out there hippie stuff. I don't know how the hell you would estimate, but some people say there's like 14 different alien races, up to 14. So, I mean, just picture that instead of just one little gray thing, because that confuses a lot of people when they start getting into aliens, right? They're like, oh, it's just some gray thing. It's like, maybe that's one, maybe lizard people are another, right? Maybe the reptilians or whatever. Who knows?
A lot of the abduction cases, they're talking about this race, and this is common among a lot of abductees. They're talking about they were abducted by a race of aliens that look like humans, but like the Aryan race. So they look Norwegian. They actually call them the Nordics. So they have blonde hair, blue eyes. They look like humanoids. Just like a few differences in the cartilage of the nose and ears.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's really plausible that there's multiple ones. And that's something I've been like, okay. And then if you want to talk about, we're just throwing it all out there. That's kind of the goal of this.
We are going so deep. There's a lot at once.
To throw everything out there and let people be like, I've never thought of it that way. And just take one of these points as a jump off point and do your own research and stuff. That's the best way to learn about anything. So while we're throwing it all out there, one of the big things that I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense is that is it 11 dimensions that we know? 11 known dimensions to us, right?
If string theory is correct, I believe. I believe
if that's
string
correct.
theory is the one that kind of proves the other dimensions.
So we have other dimensions, let's just say. And they say that through psychedelics, which I don't do psychedelics. I even get paranoid on weed. I wish I didn't, but I'm terrible at that. I've never done them. But they say, and it's reported people see the same things, and that could be you accessing a different consciousness through different dimensions. So what if one of the ways these races communicate with us, and going back to ancient stuff like Aztecs, Mayans, and all these ancient cultures have psychedelic rituals. Maybe that's one of the ways aliens communicate with us and give us these technological advances is through actually another dimension than what we're seeing right now. Is when you do that, you access it through psychedelic drugs and trips and like ayahuasca ceremonies. You see a serpent, you see a mantis, you see clockwork elves, all these people that you report on really deep levels. Same with mushrooms. If you take the right amount, like go super deep, blast off, it shoots you into that. So maybe that's a way they're communicating with this. And then what Alex Jones says that goes even one step deeper is that this is the secret of top government officials, that they actually do these rituals and psychedelic things, and these elves and stuff, they're like not benevolent, they're like evil, and they try to present themselves as like being good for you, right? And so they're giving them all these ideas, and that's actually what was manipulating Hitler too, is like the same entities that gave him that technology and all that are the same ones that some politicians are doing like rituals on, and why they get so corrupt and evil. And that's like the dark conspiracy side that you can go down and shoot down it. I wouldn't recommend people do that just because it's not going to end anywhere good for you. You're just going to be like, fuck everything, fuck the government, like all this stuff's just like you go crazy if you go that deep. But like psychedelics are another wrench in the gear of like, okay, well, what is that? And you can talk about consciousness. You can talk about historical figures that have done that. You can talk about ancient civilizations. I think that is another form of communication with extraterrestrials.
Right. There's actually a theory, a guy who researched the Holy Grail, kind of like Dan Brown from the Da Vinci Code, right? This guy researched the Holy Grail, and he kind of came to the same conclusion. He believes that in the Bible and all this stuff, a lot of the analogies that they're talking about with angels and Jesus and all the parables are actually analogies talking about psychedelic mushrooms. Yeah. Which is kind of funny. And he's like a legit scientist, who researches this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some legit people coming out. One guy I really respect, Michael Pollan. He wrote a ton of nutrition books, and I loved his take on it and everything. And he's really just a guy, kind of no bullshit. Everyone says do this, but he came out with a book on psychedelics. I haven't read it yet, but I hear it's great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How do we get on psychedelics?
Oh, well, that's different alien races. Maybe one of the ways they communicate is through psychedelic rituals, ancient civilizations. That to me kind of ties everything together.
It like allows us to get on that energetic level.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And so, you were going through the historical progression of the main theories, and I'm saying, what if the other theory is, that's a very logical way to think about things, that it happens sequentially. But what if a lot of these jumps in technology and communications and different alien races or whatever happen through actual different methods and different dimensions through psychedelics, and maybe some come physically to us when you're not doing it, like and we have physical stuff. But dude, why? Okay, this is good. Like, if you're so advanced and you have such an interest in Earth, first off, why would they have such an interest in us? I don't know. Maybe we have minerals here, it's been reported, that are very rare, like gold, in the universe, and they need that to power their spacecrafts and all this other tech, and Earth is rich in it. That's one of the theories of why they're interested in us, and that's why every civilization like worships gold, and it's valuable, and we have pyramids, and at the top, gold and gold everything, and that's like a currency. And maybe we're slaves that mine it for them so they don't have to do the dirty work. But anyway, oh man, I lost the train of thought.
Talking about the summer benevolence.
Interest in us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would they be interested in us? This is what I was going to say. If you're so advanced, right, that you're out there on your spacecrafts, you have all this technology, why would you show up physically as yourself and risk your life light years away? Even if you could teleport, like, why risk it? Like, you mentioned you Google Earthed Area 51 and you're browsing around on Area 51 on Google Earth, right? You wouldn't actually go there with a camera like, I'm going to break into Area 51. No, that's stupid, because it's going to be a waste of time. You're probably not going to see anything.
So it's
and
like,
there's a
why
better
would they show
view.
up here physically?
Exactly. So what a theory that I really like is that they're avatars. So those gray bodies, that's nothing more than just an avatar. And they're just kind of maybe remote viewing or manipulating through AI or whatever, some advanced thing. And that's not them. That's just a little robot body, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to me. I'm like, oh, that would make sense. Because, you wouldn't show up physically if you're so advanced. You wouldn't risk yourself, or you wouldn't go through all the effort. You would just manipulate your drone to do that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I've been like, oh, makes sense.
Na 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 na.